Hi everyone, I'm Carol Keller, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Illinois in the United States, right up on the Wisconsin border. And I'm here today as part of our 12 Days of Christmas and More, Saturday morning here in Illinois, and I know lots of people are busy getting ready for Christmas, which is part of what our 12 Days of Christmas and More is about. Because as we know, the 12 Days of Christmas don't actually start until Christmas Day, and then they go through January 6th with the Feast of the Epiphany. But we're more in Advent mode. We're getting ready. So our projects hopefully will help you to get ready for the holidays. I have a card for you today, a Christmas card, and it will include a gift card holder. I added that at the last minute. It's not even on my card sample, but we're going to do it together today. Here we go. I will show you the card that I made, and I used the Merriest Moments hybrid embossing folder and the Merriest Moments stamp set. So here's the card. And I used this last year because this is actually a returning favorite in the July to December mini catalog, which is sadly now on the last chance list. So if you love it, now is the time to get it. But I've used this before and I love it. I love the frame. And I'm going to show you a little boo-boo that I made on this card that I will not make on the one I show you. But let's get rolling and you'll see as we go through. I am starting with a basic white card base. And I'm just gonna use my bone folder, burnish that edge and help it lie flat. And I have cut some paper from the gorgeous, I believe it's called Boughs of Holly. Yes, Boughs of Holly Designer Series paper, which is also on the last chance list. And interestingly enough, the one that I cut, I realized after the fact that it is directional. I think it's meant to go this way. And I oriented the card this way. But it really doesn't matter because it's going to be mostly covered up. So even though it's directional, we really don't have to worry about it. And I'm going to grab my multi-purpose liquid glue and we'll put that on there to get rolling with our card. All right. Let's double check that edge. That looks pretty good. And now a lot of the work is done by just this frame, and I have already pre-cut and embossed it. And if you notice, I couldn't understand why when I did my card it didn't look detailed, and I remembered it looking very detailed when I used it last. Well, that was because I forgot to do the embossing piece. So let me show you how it works really quickly. There is an embossing folder that comes. It's called the Merriest Frames Hybrid Embossing Folder, by the way. It comes with that embossing folder, and then it comes with dies, which are here. And so you see it's the same frame. And I can show you too the different looks that you get. This is if you just run it through your embossing machine. This is what we're doing today, running it through the embossing machine and cutting it out. And I think actually this is the same, but I used the frame that goes, there's another piece that cuts out the frame on the inside, which we're using today too. And then these are the flowers and leaves that get cut out by the dies. But so what you do is cut it out and you end up with something like this, and then you run it through the embossing folder, and then you get that wonderful detail. So don't forget to do that. Don't make the same mistake I did. And while I'm showing you that, I'll quickly just pull out the stamp set. So I love the sentiments in here, and then everything that you see, the leaves and the flowers and these little pieces all get cut out by the dies. So that is very cool too. All right, so we have cut and embossed. And did I say I recommend embossing after you cut out? Because if you cut it out second, it may kind of squish it in the Stampin' Cut and Emboss, and you'll lose some of the detail. So cut it out first, then run it through the embossing folder. Okay, so we'll move that aside too. And then like I said, there's another die in the set that cuts out what we're going to use in the center. And so we're going to start some of our stamping. And I used Old Olive for this because there's shaded spruce in the paper. You can see it better here, and Old Olive, and there's actually soft succulent kind of in between, and there's probably some early espresso, or not early espresso, evening evergreen that are scattered throughout, and then this wonderful pop of color with the Poppy Parade. So that's why I used Poppy Parade for the flowers. But like I said, we're going to start with Old Olive, and we're going to stamp that sentiment, thinking of you this festive season. Get some good ink on that. And just center it. I'm going to move that out of my way here and center it. And so that's done. And then while we have the Old Olive, I have a scrap of basic white. Oh, and I forgot to say measurements. This piece is the same size as the card front. So it is 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches or 10.5 centimeters by 14.9 centimeters. So we're going to bring that Old Olive in, and we're going to stamp a couple of different stamps that come, whoops, make sure there's enough ink in the set. And we'll do that also in Old Olive. And it doesn't matter which color you use for which ones. And then we are going to, I don't think I used any, nope, not on the inside. So we're done with the Old Olive, and we'll bring in the shaded Spruce. And we'll do the third leaf or branch or whatever you want to call it. We'll do it here. I want to leave enough room in between so that the dies will fit when I go to cut them out. While we have the shaded Spruce, we're going to stamp on the inside, the sentiment on the inside, which is this one, A Joyful Christmas to You and Yours. And we'll center that. And so that is our shaded Spruce. And then we just have a little bit more stamping. I'm gonna bring in that Poppy Parade, and we'll do the inside right away since I have it here. And I just did one of the flowers, those beautiful poinsettias. And we'll do that right down in the corner. And while I have it opened, I also use, there's a little detail piece that goes with that as well. Turn it like that, just to finish it off. So our inside is done, but we're going to bring in the envelope too and do the same thing. Add that little detail. We don't want naked envelopes. And then again, the detail so that we can move that out of the way. I like that. It just finishes it off nicely. So there's our envelope. And then while I have these stamps out, we're going to take this piece and bring it back in and do 2 of those small flowers on here that we'll cut out. Maybe we'll do the other one up here. So there's room, and then the big flower, one of those. Yeah, perfect. And then again, the detail on the inside of each one in the center with this. And that should be all of our stamping. And so then we're just going to cut out all of these shapes, which of course I have already done in advance. So let me bring those in. And I did 2 of the shaded Spruce and 1 of the Old Olive, but so it doesn't really matter. You just want to bring in the colors from the background. And I actually assembled everything before I put this on the card because I used dimensionals to pop it up. I wanted to give it dimension in that way. So that's what I did. So we're going to assemble it here and then use our dimensionals. So I've got my Stampin' Seal. I'm going to put this on. And actually, before I do that, I did decide how I wanted it to lay because I wanted those beautiful red berries to peek through. So that looks pretty good. Let's see what it looks like the other way. Well, either way, I think I'll turn it this way though. And so we'll do it like that. Because I really wanted that pop of color then to be seen, because it matches up with our poinsettias. And then I put the big poinsettia I'm going to use my glue dots for this, but I put a big poinsettia in the bottom corner, and I put a couple of glue dots on there just to make sure that it's nice and secure. And then we're going to tuck the other pieces behind. So take the big one, same thing, couple of glue dots. And we'll slip that underneath. And it just, I think it gives it more dimension. If you wanted to, if you were concerned, you could also put a glue dot at this end. And then we'll use the old olive piece. And that will go here. And for the top, I'm going to bring in this wonderful shimmer ribbon, this gold shimmer ribbon. This is also on the last chance list. And I'm going to make, let's see, yeah, make a piece about like that. Just kind of eyeballing, not measuring. And then I'm going to take my glue dots again and secure the middle. And I'm going to turn it just a little more than I did there. It was kind of a little flat. I wanted that loop to show a little bit more. So we'll do that. Hopefully it will work. And now again, we've got to kind of line it up with the card so it doesn't go off the edge. So if it's going here, this has to go here. Yeah, let me move it a little bit closer so that it doesn't mess up our sentiment. Yeah, I think there is good. Right to the edge of the card. And then we put the rest of the flowers and the leaf or the branch on. So if you wanted to, you could pop up one of these flowers either in addition to popping up the whole frame or instead of. But I think I'm going to just leave mine the way they are with the glue dots. And tuck that behind, just like we did on the other one. And before we put it on the front, like I said, I don't have, as you see, I don't have a gift card holder in this one, but I was thinking this morning, we need to add that. So I'm going to show you how I did that. I have a piece of Poppy Parade cardstock, and it measures 4 inches by 2.5 or 10.2 centimeters by 6.3 centimeters. And I'm going to bring in my trimmer so that you can see. I'm going to score it. So we're going to get that cutting blade out of the way. Score it at 1/4 inch or 0.7 centimeters on the one of the long sides and on both of the short sides, because then that will help us to fold it. Oh, that's right. And I have to get my tear and tape. Let me grab that. So I didn't even get it out yet. I've got some left over from some paper pumpkin kits, so hopefully that will be enough, but I've got more at the ready if I need it. And then before we fold, well, actually, we're going to do 2 things. I'm going to stamp one more of those poinsettias. I think we'll do that first. So let me get that out of the way. And we'll just do the small one just to add a little bit more interest. And the card's going to go in this way, so I'm going to do it down here. Little tone on tone, and the same thing with the little detail. Right there. And that is the last of our stamping. And then before we fold, I'm going to grab my paper snips and we're going to miter the corners. And that's just a fancy way to say we're going to cut it at an angle right at the corner of both of them where they are, where the scoring meets. And that will just make it easier to fold. So I'm going to fold in each of those little flaps. And we're going to put some tear and tape, like I said, right here. And then I'm going to grab my take your pick tool, because that's my favorite way to take off the paper on the tear and tape. With that little pointy end, comes right off. Come on, let's burnish a little. It's got to adhere to, there it is, adhere to the cardstock before you can take the paper off. off it comes. So now I'm going to fold each edge back in, and I'm going to bring in the card, and we're just going to put it this way. Oh, that's right. One more thing I almost forgot. We're going to cut a little notch to make it easier to take the gift card out. And to do that, I'm bringing in this punch, which I can't remember the name of right now. But it's just to make a fancy edge, and you could use a circle punch if you have one. You can use the one side of a heart punch will do it to make just a little half circle, but this is a little fancier. So I will put in the description what the name of the punch is, since I can't remember. And then we're going to do this. So we're going to center it as best we can. Right here, I think is good. And you do want to give it a good burnish with your finger all along the edges where the tear and tape is to make sure that it adheres well. And then we just slip the gift card in there, and they can slip it out. And then we just have to put this on the front. And for this, I'm using my foam adhesive sheets. I thought that would be a good option. So let me grab them here because they're nice and long. So I've got one that's the end of one. Ooh, look at that, perfect. And then we'll do one in the middle, maybe two. They're kind of narrow. So I'm not measuring this either. I'm just kind of eyeballing that out of the way. And then I'm just going to take the paper off with my finger. Faster than using dimensionals because it's just 4 strips, but dimensionals work too. And then we're going to center it right here. And we're almost finished, but you know, card's not complete without some bling. So I've got the Festive pearls. And I'm going to grab my Take Your Pick tool again, except this time we're going to use the putty end to add some gold. When I was designing this, I really wanted it to have some gold sparkle on there. So that is why I used the ribbon and the pearls. And now our card is complete. What do you think? I hope you like it. Thanks for joining me today and joining us on our 12 Days of Christmas and more. I was happy to share my card with you with the extra bonus added of it being a gift card holder. So obviously you can use that or not. You can include it or not, depending on what your need for the card is. But I hope you like it. I hope you found it helpful. All right, take care, everyone. Happy stamping.